How you doing, folks? Welcome to this series of videos. We're going to be getting to know people in the Legion of Mary, their life, their faith, and their stories as well. So tonight, I'm here with Felipe,
Hello, everyone.
and we're going to be speaking a little bit more about his experience in the Legion of Mary, his experience of faith, and so on. So, Felipe, in a short video we recorded for Instagram, you were saying that you joined the Legion of Mary through a person in Dublin. Can you
Yeah,
tell us a bit more about it?
yeah, sure. So I met this guy. He's a very old man called Brother Tig. It's Timothy in English. And so he's well known by the Brazilian community as Timóteo, which is the Portuguese version of Tig. So Brother Tig used to offer English classes, lessons, using the Bible in one of the Legion's houses. And one friend told me, like, there's this guy, he gives explanation about the Bible in English, and it's a way to teach people, and he also follows a book, an English book, so you kind of get a bit of lesson and a bit of evangelization. So because I was already in the church, and I was looking for things to get my English, up and running, because I had no English at all. I just found that the perfect opportunity where I could join my desire to learn a new language, and with the desire to with the desire to evangelize in English. So I thought it was the best opportunity. So I went to the meeting, to the lessons, and I was only two or three of us, and then two teachers. So it was good because it was individual. First, he would go in the English book, and then after he'd go and get like a quotation from the Bible and just analyze, how to say what is that and what it means, kind of thing. So it was very good. He also spoke Portuguese because he was an envoy of the Legion in Brazil. He was one of the kind of founders of the Legion in Brazil, and that made all the difference because then he would go to the Brazilian mass, and then he speak in Portuguese, invite everyone to go to the lesson with him. So it was very, very nice. I don't think the Brazilian people appreciate that much what for me was very, very nice, unfortunately, but it was still a nice apostolate to do, and so that was the door that I went to the Legion. So once we started going to these lessons, then I said, "What else can I do to help? How can I get involved?" And then he said, "Well, we have another meeting if you want to come along, which is in Morningstar Hostel in Dublin." So I say, "Yes, give me the time." And because I was at the time just studying English, I was like studying for like in the afternoon from 1 to 5, but then I was free morning and evenings because I didn't have the visa to get a job. The student visa was on the way. Um, so I just decided to join, and it was the best thing I've done in my life because it really introduced me to a new family in Ireland. It was a nice way to break the bubble. I don't know if I want to go into that, but like it's very hard for foreigner to actually get to know and be friends with local people. And I we can see very clearly that in Dublin because it's very easy for us to get attached to the Brazilian people because there are a lot of them there. And then I was like breaking the bubble, getting to meet local people in Dublin. So that was really an achievement for an English perspective, and also for a faith perspective, because also you do need friends in faith to 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 walk properly.
So you started in the Legion of Mary in Dublin, and eventually you came to Belfast.
Yeah.
And it is over 80 years you are part of the Legion of Mary.
It's nearly 8 years. Yeah. The 31st of July, I was taking my flight from Brazil to Dublin. So I think within 2 months I joined the Legion. So that's nearly 8 years now.
Right. And you made friends in Dublin, you discovered a family, you get to improve your English, and you came to Belfast already with this mindset. You considered yourself a legionary by the time you came to Belfast, or you're going to start your life again? How was?
Yeah, so that time the migration from Dublin to Belfast was much easier because I did have brother Tag gave me the contact details of brother Tom Honey, and brother Tom was also a envoy of the Legion in Brazil. So he was one of the started the Legion in Brazil as well. So I came. I already knew someone. He was very old at the time. He was not a member of the Legion anymore, but he was still able to speak some Portuguese, and my English was still pretty weak. It has been only 6 months I was studying, but we could mix sometimes speaking Portuguese, sometimes in English, depending on if he remembered the vocabulary and all. So, but he was the first one who got me around Belfast and brought me to Belfast Castle, city center, like just to see the things in Belfast. And I really appreciate that. And that's when you have a family, right? When you have a family, then you go somewhere and say there's a distant cousin, and then you say contact him. He might want to talk to you. That was a kind of experience. But very quickly, I just typed on the internet Morningstar Belfast because I thought there was something. Then I found the Facebook page, which is now the Legion of Mary Belfast, which is our Praesidium who looks after that. And at the time was Morningstar Belfast or something like that. And then I got in touch by message with someone there, and that person was Michael Riley, who is a member of our Presidium. Yeah, so that's how everything started in Belfast.
Very nice. And so, along these 8 years, you have become, I suppose, you took other functions in the Legion, and now you are president. Can you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the president thing it came to me. In the beginning, I was the Morning Star Presidium, which was a very live meeting. We had like 25 members, and there was this week Presidium that was like in need of help. There were only 3 people, 4 people at the time. So I started to do double job. I was doing Morning Star, and then doing Our Lady Queen of Peace Presidium, and
But by the time you were not an officer
no,
yet.
no, no, just an active member, just doing the duties and things like that. But I always like to go to the courier meetings. At the time, it wasn't a committee; it was just a courier, and I always like to go. When I found out what it was, it really struck me to see legionaries from all part of Belfast join together to say the prayers and to get decisions. So I always like that. But anyway, I went to Morningstar and Queen of Peace, and in Queen of Peace we had only 4 members at the time. I was the fifth one, and at some stage there was a need of secretary. So as a foreigner, it was very challenging. I didn't have much English. Still, I didn't have much English, but it was good to help, and that's how I learned. That was the first time I learned how the Legion worked, because just by listening, I could understand what was happening in each part of the meeting. But when you're writing, then you all write, oh, that's a minute, that's the matters arising, like what's happening. And it was very good to be secretary. So I was secretary for a while until my job changed and I couldn't be secretary anymore. And then I became treasurer, and Sister Patsy, who was there being treasurer for a couple of years, um, she her term left, finished, so I went to be a treasurer. So I was a treasurer for a while, and then I was again without any role after that. And our brother Grain, he was president for 6 years in the Legion. When you are in the role for 6 years, you for 3 years, then you renew for another 3 years. After 6 years, you can't be in the same role. You can still be an officer, but not in the same role. So Brother Green was leaving as president. Brother Riley, who was the vice president, his term was up as well, but he was having work commitments that he would not be quite sure if he could make every week to the Presidium, and the others were quite new, because now, as you know, we have a good Praesidium with good numbers, but at the time, all these people that are now with us, they were just through the door, so they're quite new. So there was no one that could have the experience to be the president. So Brother Green then, with Brother O'Reilly, asked me like if I would like to take that opportunity, and then that's how I end up there. So it was really because I had no other option.
And now you are the president of Our Lady Queen of Peace Praesidium,
Yeah.
which is the biggest Praesidium in Belfast and Down Connor at the moment. We have 18 active members, many auxiliary members, and it's been big time for our Praesidium. I would like to ask you, what are the difficulties you face being a president, the challenges, and the anything you would like to comment on being a president?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. First, it's good that you mentioned that we are the biggest at the moment, because I think each Presidio in the Legion, they have the glorious time. The Morning Star had the 25 members when I joined. Once upon a time, they had 40 members. So it's just it's we are in the moment of grace at the moment, and that carries a lot of responsibility, because being the biggest, it doesn't mean necessarily you're the best. So we need to fight every week to be the best. Not the best legionaries, but the best Christians, the best evangelizers, the best that want to give the 100%. So it is very challenging, and the more people you have, the more challenge you see. So like I was really lucky, because I had a very good president in past years. Like in all the 8 years in the Legion, most of them had been in Belfast, and so I had a very good president, and I learned how the rules work, how to get people attention, how to operate properly a meeting. So, but that's one thing. Then the other thing is, like, you have to prepare the locutions for people who are not aware. It's like the kind of talk we have, a small talk during the meeting. So we have to prepare that every week, and then we have to prepare as well for the challenge we're going to face every week. Like, people don't want to do something, or if everybody wants to do another thing, you need to kind of allocate people to do the works that are needed, more than what we want, but more what we need. So that's one thing as well. And also, people have their problems, and they want to share with people. And sometimes, because you're the president, you are the person they go to share this kind of thing, and then we are there to support them and to help them, and continue in the path. One thing that strikes me is, when people decide to join the Legion, I think because it's a work for Our Lady, the devil really doesn't like it. So he tries to do everything to get people. So whenever it's like first week and second week and third week, people are really, they're still discovering about the Legion. They have strong temptations to not come back. They have strong temptations of, oh, maybe that's too much for me. Oh, you need to be a holy person to be on that. And they have really strong things. And sometimes when they are there, they love it. Then they go home. The devil starts to put things on their mind. So I think, as president, you do have to be aware of these and trying to deal with that, and also get the members of your presidium to be praying for each other, because if prayer resolves, it's not me. It's not the grace is not upon me. Of course, you have the grace of state. It's the grace that God gives to people who have some roles. You have that, but we need to be aware. We need to be praying for each other, and I think that's the key in the Legion apostolate, to persevere, because otherwise you're gonna be told, and if you keep arguing with the serpent, they're gonna make up your mind. Like, there's no chance you can win this game. It's just by continually working and doing what you need to do. That's the key.
So it's needless to say that you believe in the Legion of Mary as an organization, in the power and the difference the Legion of Mary can make in people's lives.
Yeah, as I say, it's needless to say. It's interesting because, as I said, the devil likes to get people away from it. That shows something. If the devil is interested to get them away from a pious organization like the Legion, it because something might change in the person's life if they keep going. And one other aspect of this is that the Legion, you have a commitment. So you go for the first time to the Legion, you just want to see how what's about, and then you are asked if you want to do a duty already. The first day you're asked if you want. If you don't, we can give you a time so that you can take another week or two to understand how it works and if you want to be involved. But then the first day, if you go and you take your duty, and then you go and do your duty, then you feel that you need to come back to report that. And then when you come to report, then you receive another duty, and then makes you an apostle. You need to keep doing it. Like there's no time for laziness. There's no time, as I always say in our Praesidium, we are an army of Our Lady. So there's no time for laziness. There's no time for my will. It's God's will. Where Our Lady is the commander, she's gonna tell us what to do, and we're gonna do whatever He tells you. That's our job. And then it's week after week we keep doing our duties and keeping coming back to report and be accountable for what we do. So I think that's very very nice, and that's why it can change people's life, because it's very easy for us to go to a prayer group and lay back home and then, no, I just want to say my prayer, and by prayer I'm doing the work. Well, that's cool and it's very important, but we have the Carmelite sisters to do that. We have the Carthusian to do that. We have the Cistercian to do that. If you are a lay person, you are in the word. Nowadays, even the priests can't talk much. We need to be the one talking the truth to people. So I believe that very strongly, and I think that's necessary for us to get through the word mindset. That's the only way it's gonna work.
Especially here in Belfast, where the troubles took place and people were
Yeah.
afraid of talking about God, religion, and faith.
That's it. And in the midst of the troubles, the Legion was there. The Legion has 100 years old. So in the middle of the troubles, the Legion was there. In fact, how's his name? Thomas Honey, the brother that showed me around Belfast when I arrived. When he was in the Legion, he had to go to cross the checkpoints to go to the Legion meetings, and he was expected there. And if he wasn't there, the president would be very upset with him. Because it's an army. We need to keep our commitment. We need to be. We either believe that saving souls is an important thing, is a serious thing, or we don't. If we believe it's a serious, an important thing, and we need to address that, we need to do something about it. But if you don't, then that's fine. Yeah. So you can just live your life, and so it's very important that when you go to prayer groups and things like that, that you also, even in your prayer groups, because you're Brazilian like me, and then that in Brazil there is like charismatic renewal and all normal prayer groups, like they're not connected to the charismatic renewal, they have a strong apostolate. They have strong things they're doing. So I think these needs to be happening in Belfast as well. I don't know charismatic renewal here, so I can't say much. But I just say in Brazil they're very apostolic, and here we need to understand the necessity of the apostolate.
Great. And just for us to finish off, would you like to leave a message encouraging people to join the Legion of Mary? Would you like to leave any final comments as well?
Yeah, why not? So if you have heard about the Legion, if you've been invited to the Legion, if that's something that have been, like, if you just drop in this video by mistake, or it was just in your suggestions there, maybe God wants something from you, and Our Lady is very happy to receive new children and to send them to evangelize, to do whatever the Lord tells us to do. So don't be afraid, and think if you'd like to be part of Our Lady's army, because it's very much needed. And if we want some change in Belfast, if we want some change in Ireland, we won't have different results by doing the same thing. We need to do something different. And I strongly believe that we need to go where people are and not wait for them to come to us.
That's great. Thank you very much, brother.
No problem, brother. Thank you.